It is the night before Halloween, and I'm sure that you are saving your time to party for tomorrow. So the best thing to do tonight is to cuddle up to some scary true stories. So without further ado, I have got some for you. A few years ago, my boss went on holiday for a couple of weeks to Spain. Midway through the holiday, he got a phone call from the police informing him that his sister had passed away in a fire in her flat. So he rushed back home early, deals with the police and the passing and everything. My employers told him to take some time off to grieve, which he duly did. When he came back to work on a Monday morning a few weeks later, we invited him into our coffee room to talk and offer him our sympathies and support. About half an hour later, he excuses himself to start work. He walks into his office, sits down at his desk, turns on his computer, and checks to see if there are any answer phone message. And the very first message that plays is his sister screaming down the phone, "Help me! Help me! I'm trapped! I can't breathe!" Still sends chills down my spine to think about it. As you can imagine, he was pretty traumatized. By August 1918, terror had paralyzed the city of New Orleans. Between May 1918 and October 1919, the unnamed American serial killer, known as the Axeman of New Orleans, terrorized the city of New Orleans, Louisiana, and took the lives of 6 people. It is assumed that most of his attacks were racially motivated because all his victims were either Italian immigrants or Italian Americans. The press said that the community of Italian immigrants was particularly terrified, with men in a frenzy, staying up all night to protect their families. On May 23, 1918, an Italian grocery store owner, Joseph Maggio, and his wife Catherine became the first victims of the Axeman's attacks. The attacker used a sharp blade to sever the couple's necks as they slept in their flat above the Maggio grocery shop before striking their heads with an axe. When law enforcement started their investigation, they discovered the killer's bloodied clothes because it was evident that he had changed into a fresh set of clothes before leaving the crime scene. Money and valuables left in clear view were not taken, ruling out robbery as the cause of the attacks. Multiple homicides later, a taunting letter promised another attack was delivered to the Times-Picayune newspaper on March 14, 1919. In that letter, purportedly signed by the Axeman himself, he swore to strike again on March 19, 15 minutes after midnight. In the note, he also promised to spare any homes in which a jazz band played. That evening of March 19th, all New Orleans homes and dance halls were jam-packed with professional to amateur jazz musicians to divert the Axeman. The Axeman's identity was never revealed, yet many have made wild assumptions about him. His main distinguishing features were that he was a tall man who only committed his crimes at night and almost always in a frantic manner, leaving blood and body parts all over the place. On November 10th, 1923, Nathan Leopold committed to travel 6 hours from Chicago to the University of Michigan. Accompanied by his friend and lover, Richard Loeb, they intended to break into Loeb's former fraternity, but all they had taken was a typewriter, a few watches, some penknives, and around $80 in loose change. Leopold was agitated on the way back to Chicago because the robbery had been a big effort for a small payoff. When Leopold finally stopped complaining, Loeb began to discuss his idea of committing the perfect crime. When they continued to travel through the country roads towards Chicago, they broke into several homes and started a few fires, but none of their crimes had been published in the media. Loeb desired to commit a crime that would create a huge buzz: abduction and homicide of a child. After plotting their plan through the winter, in May, they kidnapped a child they knew had a wealthy father who would pay the ransom. Following the abduction, they beat the boy's skull with a chisel, jamming a rag down his throat, and disposed of the body. When the two returned to the city, Leopold dropped the ransom letter into a post box. However, their plan to execute the perfect crime failed. The following day, a passerby spotted the child's lifeless body and soon the police traced Leopold by finding the eyeglasses he dropped near the body. On May 31st, 10 days after the homicide, both young men came clean and revealed to the state's attorney how they had slain Bobby Franks. Nathan Leopold confessed that they had killed Bobby only for the thrill of it. At the time of the murder, Richard Loeb and Nathan Leopold were 18 and 19 years old. They were sentenced to 99 years in prison. The creepy old-fashioned porcelain doll with a Victorian appearance, red lips, rosy cheeks, and blue eyes, referring to Annabelle, may come to mind when one thinks of a haunted doll. However, it's unlikely that anyone still keeps one in their house, unless that house is Warren's Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. However, those dolls are not the only ones getting possessed. Disney's Frozen Elsa doll, given as a Christmas 2013 gift in the Houston region, made headlines when it appeared to start acting paranormal. For 2 years, the doll was working, as it was technically supposed to, reciting phrases from the movie and singing Let It Go when a button was pressed. In 2015, it started randomly alternating between English and Spanish languages. The woman who purchased the doll claimed that, even with its switch off, the doll would start speaking and singing randomly. In December 2019, the family chose to get rid of the Elsa doll. Despite tossing it in the garbage, the family eventually discovered it hidden inside a bench in their living room weeks later. Following the discovery, Elsa started to speak and sing solely in Spanish, soon after which made the family make another attempt to scrap the Elsa doll. The doll was double bagged and put at the bottom of the garbage can, which was soon picked up by waste collectors. The family left for a trip sometime later, but when they were back, the haunted doll was waiting in their backyard. In their last attempt, the family sent Elsa through the mail to a Minnesotan family friend who fastened the possessed doll to the front bumper of his truck. According to the woman's most recent update in October 2020, the doll hasn't returned to Houston yet.
Ojalá jugáramos a la nieve todo el tiempo. Hacer magia con nieve juntas es muy divertido. A mi hermana Ana y a mí nos gusta jugar en la nieve dentro del castillo. Soy la princesa Elsa de Arendelle. Es increíble. ¿Jugamos otra vez? Nieve y hielo, a brillar les ordeno. ¿No es divertido jugar en la nieve? Qué bueno que somos amigas.
Well, I hope that wasn't too scary for you and that I didn't give you nightmares tonight. Anyway, I hope that you're all having a fabulous, fabulous day and happy Halloween!